Good morning. This recording is for Pre-Algebra Chapter 5, Lesson 4, Multiplying and Dividing Fractions. This is a very short lesson, so I'm going to read you a quote from Horseradish, Bitter Truths You Can't Avoid by Lemony Snicket, page 85. There are some who say that sitting at home reading is the equivalent of travel because the experience described in the book are more or less the same as the experiences one might have on a voyage, and there are those who say that there is no substitute for venturing out into the world. My own opinion is that it is best to travel extensively, but to read the entire time, hardly glancing up to look out of the window of the airplane, train, or hired camel. Thank you, Lemony Snicket. Alright, so multiplying and dividing fractions. To multiply fractions, multiply across. Not diagonally. That is only for proportions, folks. You would not believe how many people who get through life thinking that multiplying fractions is diagonally. That is only for cross product. That is when two fractions equal each other, not when you're adding and multiplying, dividing fractions. It's only when the fractions equal each other. In this case, the fractions do not equal each other because we're doing math with them. Alright, so again, you're going to multiply the numerators together, that's the top numbers. You're going to multiply the denominators together, those are the bottom numbers. And our recommendation is to simplify before you multiply, but again, it is not a requirement. I will show you a few problems where I simplified before I multiply and where I simplified after I multiplied. Alright, so the first problem is negative 5/6 times 2/3. Well, that could be negative 5 times 2 over 6 times 3. Miss H, why did you choose the 5 to put the negative 2? Well, it honestly doesn't matter. It could either go with the 5 excuse me, or the 6. It doesn't really matter. It's your choice. You just got to remember that the negative is there. All right, so I'm going to simplify before I multiply for this particular problem. 2 goes into itself once, and 2 goes into 6 3 times. Now I'm ready to multiply the tops and the bottoms. Negative 5, simplifying diagonally. Negative 5 times 1 is negative 5. 3 times 3 is 9. So I end up with negative 5/9. But again, you could put the negative on the 5. You could put the negative in line with the division bar or fraction bar. And you could also put the negative on the 9. And you know what? It's still going to be negative 5/9. Still is. Doesn't matter where you put the negative. But you still need to leave the negative there because this is in fact a negative fraction. It just doesn't matter whether you apply it to the 5, the fraction bar, or the 9. All right, I'll do this problem one more time, or simplifying after I multiply. So I'm basically just starting from that step again. Negative 5 times 2 is negative 10. 3 times 6 is 18. Simplify before I multiply. 2 times negative 5 is negative 10. 2 times 9 is 18. Cancel out the 2's. And you still get negative 5/9. All right, next problem. Negative 1/4 times negative 3/8. Negative 1, again, I put it on the numerator. You could have put it on the denominator. It could have been on the 4. But I wanted to prove a point of where you put it doesn't necessarily matter because you're going to still get the same answer at the end. So we have negative 3 times, negative 1 times 3 is negative 3. 4 times negative 8 is negative 32. I could not simplify before I multiplied here for the second problem because there's nothing that goes into each other diagonally. All right. The only thing is I have a negative being divided by a negative or a negative over a negative. That equals a positive. A negative divided by a negative is positive. So the real answer is actually 3 over 32. Now, you could have just noticed that here and gone, well, hey, Miss TH, I know my answer is positive because a negative times a negative is positive. I'm just showing you that it still works out here because you also had a negative divided by a negative, which is positive. All right, there you go. You could have done it that way too. You could have applied the negative. So here, I applied the negative to the 8 for the second fraction instead of the 3, whereas here, I applied it to the negative 3 and still managed to cancel it out because a negative 1 times a negative 3 is positive 3. All right, moving on. All right, so converting mixed numbers to proper fractions prior to multiplying. You should know how to do this. You're multiplying the denominator times the whole number and then adding the numerator. All right, so we're going to have 2/3. Now, there you go. So we're going to multiply the denominator times the whole number and then add the denominator times whole number, add numerator. So 7 times 1 is 7, plus 2 is 9, 9 sevenths. So now I'm going to simplify before I multiply. 3 goes into itself once, 3 goes into 9 3 times. 2 times 3 over 1 times 7, and you get 6 sevenths. All right, number 2, we have negative 2 and 5 over 6 times 1 and 3 fifths. So both of them need to be converted to improper fractions. You're going to multiply the denominator times the whole number and then add the numerator. The only thing is that you're going to ignore the negative until you're done doing all this math. You're not going to do 6 times negative 2 plus 5. No. Just ignore the negative while you're turning it into an improper fraction. Once you have an improper fraction, then apply the negative at the end. So 6 times 2 is 12, plus 5 is 17. Then we apply the negative. See how the negative, there, it isn't there, now it is. Oops. I think you're still recording. Yes, you're still recording. I pushed the wrong button, sorry. So, see, there it goes. All right, so apply the negative after you've turned it into an improper fraction. All right, I have to do the second one. Well, 5 times 1 is 5, plus 3 is 8. That gives me 8 fifths. See how I keep the denominator every time? The denominator stays the same. It's only the numerator that is affected when you turn a mixed number into an improper fraction. All right, time to simplify before I multiply. 2 goes into 6 3 times, 2 goes into 8 4 times. Negative 17 times 4 over 3 times 5 is going to give me negative 68 over 5. Yay! All right, last thing I need to talk to you guys about is dividing fractions. That means we're multiplying by the reciprocal. And you know what? The reciprocal, you only take the reciprocal of the second fraction. As you read from left to right, it's always the second fraction's reciprocal. All right? And you'll hear me say multiply by the reciprocal, but many people forget it's always the second fraction that you take the reciprocal of. Not the first, the second. So negative 1/4 stays the same because it's the first fraction. It's the second fraction, 1/2, that you then flip. The reciprocal means to flip. The numerator becomes the denominator, and the denominator becomes the numerator. All right, so see how the 2 is now on top and the 1's now on the bottom. See, right there. There you go. All right, so, and I'm also changing the division sign into a multiplication sign. That's the multiply, because dividing fractions means to multiply, so the division sign becomes multiply, and the reciprocal of the second fraction is taken. Okay, I hope I've explained that enough, because you gotta just memorize it, do it, you gotta do it, okay? All right, so now that I've multiplied by the reciprocal, I'm ready to multiply. So in fact, you're not even doing division when you're dealing with fractions. You're just turning a division problem into a multiplication problem and doing everything that we did, over here. Same thing, okay? So first we had to turn it into a multiplication, take the reciprocal, and then we can simplify before we multiply. So again, we had negative 1/4 times 2, or times 2 over 1. So we're going to simplify. 2 goes into itself once, 2 goes into 4 twice. Negative 1 times 1 is negative 1. 2 times 1 is 2. We're ending up with negative 1/2. All right, last problem. Second to last problem. We have 5a over 8 divided by 2/3. Take the reciprocal of the second number and change the division sign into multiplying. So the reciprocal of 2/3 is 3 over 2. Okay, hold on a second. I gotta blow my nose. Sorry about that. Okay, so again, we're multiplying by the reciprocal. So it's going to be 5a times 3 over 8 times 2. There's nothing we can simplify at the top and the bottom, so we're just going to have to multiply like terms. 3 and 5 are like terms. 3 times 5 is 15. 15 times a is 15a. All over 8 over 2, or 8 times 2, which is 16. And that does not simplify any further, though you can rewrite it as 15 over 16 times a, or 15 over 16a. All right, last problem is 3b. That is not a 36, guys. That's 3b over 7. 3b over 7 divided by 6/7. Multiplied by the reciprocal. Reciprocal of 6/7 is 7/6. Now we can simplify. 7 goes into itself once, 7 goes into itself once, the 7's become 1s. 3 goes into itself once, 3 goes into 6 twice. Now see how I'm not including the b in that simplifying? That's totally okay. Totally okay. That b doesn't go into anything but itself, and there's no other b's to simplify. But as long as b is being multiplied by a number over here, we can simplify it. Okay? All right. So we've got 1 times 1 now, times b, or 1 times b times 1, because there's, right, let me pick a different highlighter color. Because we have the 1, the b, and the 1, right? That's right there. And then we also have the 1 and the 2 there, which is the 1 times 2. Well, 1 times b times 1 is just b, and 1 times 2 is 2. So that equals b over 2, which can be rewritten as 1/2 b. Okay, I'm done. Bye, guys.